Okay, I'm going to start the slideshow. I'll screen share. Welcome to Raising Happy Kids Zoom Show, Episode 2, The One Rule to Raising Happy Kids and the Power of Respect. Earlier this week, I was watching an online lesson. The instructor used the term magic wand, referring to what was being taught. I thought, that's what the one rule is. It's a magic wand for those who use it. It eliminates wondering how to solve problems with kids. Now you know how. You just have to do it. Have you ever heard that two heads are better than one? With the one rule, all the heads of the people involved are part of coming up with a solution. Since all the people involved want a good outcome for themselves, and they know it has to be a solution that everyone else likes too, that is the rule. My experience has been that a mutually satisfying solution is going to be thought of. For many, many years, I have wanted to eliminate punishment as a way adults attempt to control kids. I realized that this would not happen as long as adults are concerned about kids behaving badly. Many years ago, I came up with the concept of respect as the foundation of parenting. I called it the power of respect. I lived it. Anyone who knew me then could tell you that in terms of being respectful to kids, I walked my talk. I knew that most people had a sense of what it meant to be respectful, though many adults were not used to being respectful to kids. However, when I was asked to define what I meant by respect, I found that difficult. I finally came up with treating someone the way the other person wants to be treated. I think that works. But with the one rule, everything is so much clearer. No complicated definitions, simple, straightforward. You may not know what the other person wants, but you know whether a solution feels good to you. You are responsible for agreeing to what feels good to you. They are responsible for agreeing what feels good to them. And together, everyone involved is responsible for finding a solution that everyone agrees to. One of the biggest objections to using the one rule is that it's not going to work. People are not going to find agreement. I understand why you might think that. It is normal for people to not get along, to disagree, to get into conflicts or even fights. However, that has not been my experience. Sure, I had not thought of the one rule until a year or so ago, but I had lived the power of respect for many years, and I already told you my definition, completely in harmony with the one rule. Not only did I live it, using it with my children and the hundreds of children I worked with over about 22 years, but people I taught, even people who read my book, Parenting for the New Millennium, reported how satisfied they were with the results of using what they learned in my book. So the one rule provides concerned adults with a way to approve of the behavior of their kids without needing to punish them. They just come to mutual agreement and they agree to what feels good to them. Also, you can take the following what if approach. I learned this from a friend. What if you tried the one rule and it worked for you and helped you create harmony with your kids? What if that? During this 1-hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Also, each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then we have Q&A and discussion. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I often bring up the one rule, now called the one rule to raising happy kids. Here is the one rule: to raise happy kids and to be happy yourself. Make sure that those involved agree with each decision. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use the one rule. Using the one rule means you find agreement. That's a rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. You find an idea, a solution that everyone likes. You found agreement. You found harmony. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. Learning how to resolve differences and the resulting conflicts in a humane and peaceful manner is what the one rule to raising happy kids is all about. Once you've made the one rule your habit, you can avoid getting into conflict in the first place. As long as there are no differences that might lead to conflict, there is no need to use the one rule. As soon as you realize that there are differences between what you want and what your kids want, that is the time to use the one rule. Find agreement before you move on, before you decide what to do or what not to do. You, the adult, are the example of the one rule in action. You make sure that you follow it and gently encourage your kids to use it also. The one rule shifts everyone's goals. The primary goal is now finding agreement, something that everyone likes and wants. No one has to settle for second best. Together you find something that is satisfying and fulfilling to everyone involved. And it is only used when differences are leading to conflict. It is a path back to harmony. That's all. Why and how the one rule works? Apparently, our brain is hardwired to answer questions. When we are asked a question, or when we ask ourselves a question, our brain immediately begins searching for an answer. The one rule is like asking our brain a question, so it immediately begins searching for an answer. The problem, trouble, or conflict is the source of the question. We ask two primary questions. How can we find agreement? And what is really important to me in this situation? It is simple. Until you're used to it, you might not think it's easy, though small children learn it and adopt it quickly. This is how I raised my kids once I decided never to force them to do what they did not want to do. This was how I treated the kids I worked with. The following 3 agreements make using the one rule even easier, almost automatic. 1, we are each important. Demonstrate this by pointing to each person involved and saying, you are important, and you are important. If you are involved, point to yourself and say, and I am important. 2, we each deserve to feel good. 3, we are going to find a way for this to happen. When you use the one rule, you create a heart-to-heart bridge between you and your child. That way you both feel loved at all times. Imagine the blissful power of this. I want to tie this current understanding of the one rule back to its origin. The work I did for the many years I raised my children, was head teacher in our Montessori school, taught a special education class in an East Los Angeles middle school, and finally substituted in many schools in Las Vegas. To do this, I'm going to share a bit of what I wrote in my original book. I call it the book that started it all. That's because I did not have a mission until I'd written this book. I'd been invited to create educational centers in India. I decided that before I could do this, I had to share what I felt I'd learned from working with the children at Children's House. One mother had already asked me to do this, to share what gave me a unique approach to dealing with kids. It turned into the book and a mission to share this with as many people as possible, so kids everywhere can grow up in harmonious situations. So here's a little from that book, Parenting for the New Millennium, Creating Friendly Families Through the Power of Respect. This is from chapter 5, Respect, the Cooperative Solution. Respectful interaction takes many forms. It comes through our mouths as kind, thoughtful words. It comes from our hands as helpful, loving actions. It forms our thoughts into cooperative understanding. Cooperation is respect in action. Respect is enough. It helps create respectful relationships. It helps change an unhappy family into a friendly, happy one. It helps change low self-esteem into high self-esteem. Respect helps create peaceful interaction. Treating ourselves with respect and cultivating an attitude of cooperation between various aspects of our personalities can help us develop inner peace. When people are treating each other with respect, they create a wonderful medium in which peace can flourish. People tend to be more relaxed when they are assured respectful treatment. People tend to enjoy life more when they are relaxed. People who are enjoying life tend to spread good energy and our blessings to all around them. Just think how immediately and how extensively a child's joy spreads. Respect breeds responsibility, not license. If we observe, we can discover that the more that children are given respect, trust, and cooperation, the more they show that they are worthy of it, and the more they offer their respect, trust, and cooperation to others. Respectful parenting helps children develop strong, positive self-esteem. Many professionals consider self-esteem to be the critical factor, which determines, according to the late family therapist Virginia Satir, Integrity, honesty, responsibility, compassion, love, all flow easily from the person whose self-esteem is high. Satir also says, the feelings of self-worth are learned in the family. A child with good self-esteem can weather many failures in school or among his peers. A child with low self-esteem can experience many successes, yet feel a gnawing doubt about his own value. Since I've decided to share an example of the one rule in action, and today I want to show how closely the power of respect is tied in with the one rule, I'm using an example from my column book as the bridge for all of this. I had a newspaper column called The Power of Respect. People would ask me questions about being respectful to their kids. I would answer them in the newspaper. I gathered them into a book called The Column Book. I was just going to use the question as the jumping off place to get more into the one rule. Actually, I do that at the end. But after I read the answer I gave in the newspaper, it seemed so aligned with how I might think as I'm using the one rule that I decided to leave it. We can talk about it later. Question. When my child goes off for a day or two to spend the night at his friends, he seems to come back home with a "don't bother me" attitude. He doesn't want to clean up his room or do any chores. He blames me for bugging him when he gets home. How can I integrate him back at home in a harmonious way? I also have divorced friends who have similar problems with their children after they have been with the other parent. Answer. Your behavior can make it easier or harder for your son to integrate himself back into the routines and flow of family life. You can help him by being welcoming, understanding, and compassionate, or you can hinder him by being impatient, demanding, or complaining, judgmental, or critical. In any case, he is the one who has to reintegrate into the home. You have to reintegrate yourself with him, taking him and his needs into account, which you have not had to do while he was gone. If he does not want to be bothered when he returns home, don't bother him. Let him choose his own time to begin to participate. Sometimes it is hard to shift behavior from one environment to another. The people in each place have different expectations and responses. It may take him some time to change his behavior to fit into either place. You're just seeing one end of his process. Maybe the other place is more relaxed for him because he has no duties or responsibilities, and it takes time to adjust to a situation where more is asked of him. Maybe the other place is exhausting in its demands, and he can't really be himself there. He might just need time to relax and let down his guard before he can take on more responsibilities. If it is important that he do chores like clean his room when he gets home, maybe the two of you can work something out. Arrange to talk with him sometime when neither of you are feeling stressed. Share your concerns and needs with him and ask for his help to resolve this situation. Be sure you both understand each other. Here, as usual, the important thing is to discover ways of dealing with this that work for both of you. Possible respectful solutions. He does his chores before leaving for his friend's house. Someone else does his chores on the day he comes back. He does his chores the day he comes back, but no one reminds him, and he does them when he is ready. No one bothers him in any way after he comes home until he lets everyone know it's okay. He didn't realize his behavior was causing a problem and cheerfully agrees to do his chores as soon as he gets home. Using the one rule would make working things out simple and easy. With the one rule, it's clear exactly what outcome you're both looking for, an outcome that you both feel good about and can agree to. Let's look at how one session between this mother and her son might go. I'll make up names for them. Hey, Jason, do you have a moment? I need some help to work something out. Sure, Mom. I've been wanting to use something called the one rule to help us figure out solutions to problems so we can all get to feel good about the decisions. I'd like us to figure out what to do about things when you come back from spending time with Mark and his family. Oh, that. Yeah. The person who teaches about the one rule suggests that the first time we use it, I start with these three things. 1, we are each important. You are important, and I am important. 2, we each deserve to feel good. 3, we are going to find a way for this to happen. Shall I tell you my problem, then we can figure out what to do about it? I know your problem. You want me to do some chores. Well, that's part of it. Also, the way you treat me makes me feel bad. Just don't bug me about it. I know my chores. I'm just tired when I come back from Mark's. I've hardly gotten any sleep. And the first thing you start telling me is to do my chores. I'm sorry, I didn't know. What about this idea? When you get home, we're just glad to have you back and you get to your chores when it's good for you. That sounds good, but what if I don't get to them that day? Well, let's make sure you don't have any chores that need doing that day. That sounds great, Mom. Thanks for being here. Now it's time for Q&A and discussion. Okay. Well, I think that is going to be it for today. There was someone on, but they hopped off. So, well, we'll see you next week. Hope you have a great